Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a video all on what makes you an actual bad pet owner. Now yes, I'm in a different location. I'm actually house sitting right now, so ignore the background. But I thought to make this video because I feel like a lot of people get hate and get accused of being a bad pet owner when in actuality they're not, and those who are not getting pointed out as it are actually bad pet owners, if that makes sense. Now this is not a negative video, it's not a bashing video, it's simply defining what actually makes someone a bad pet owner. So the first one would be rehoming for invalid reasons. Now there is a couple of reasons why rehoming is a okay thing to do, such as financial crisis. You have something happen in your personal life that makes you no longer able to support this animal financially. And don't get that confused with going in not being able to support the animal. If you go in getting an animal and you know that you can't afford vet bills, then that is a bad decision. But if something happens during the time of ownership that makes you unable to afford, it's completely okay to rehome that animal. Another valid reason will be for health complications. If you end up getting either a physical or mental health complication that makes you no longer able to support, rehoming them for the better is okay. And there is a few others, but they are the mains. Now what I mean by invalid reasons is rehoming for stupid reasons, such as you having kids or are pregnant. That is a very weak excuse. The pet is a part of the family and therefore was actually there before your pregnancy, so it shouldn't get rehomed just because you're having children. Too much fur for like making up excuses. I know some people are really picky when it comes to fur and things. That shouldn't be a reason to rehome an animal. You should have done the research before getting that animal. Every animal is going to shed its fur. You just have to put up with it. You have to put up with the grooming. That's another thing. Too much maintenance. I mean, it's a living thing that relies on you to care. Of course, it's going to have maintenance. Of course, there is animal that is going to have less maintenance than others. But that is, again, your responsibility to research and know how much maintenance you have to put in. And there's just a bunch of others. To do examples of good and bad rehoming situations. So the good one is going to be an example I got from my best friend Faith. If you don't know, she used to own a turtle named Sunny, and she had him for quite a long time. And then she and her family came to accept that because of their living situation and because how big Sunny was getting, they could not give them the size he deserved. Now, he was in the minimum size tank. He was a red-eared slider. He was in the minimum size tank, but they obviously wanted to be able to do above and beyond for him, so they accepted the fact that they just don't have the room to give him that life. So they made the decision to put him in a home where he is, one, with other turtles, two, he gets free access to a pond, is what Faith is saying. So they made a really good decision because they knew they couldn't give him the best life possible, and they knew by rehoming him the other people could. So that is a really good example of rehoming. Then a bad excuse for rehoming, and I'm not going to mention names, is I know a person who decided to rehome a pet due to it having a different personality to her other ones. Now that is such a weak, immature decision just because of a different personality. That's just like me rehoming Cloudy, my rabbit, because he's completely different to Nala. You do not go rehoming animals just because of their personality, and this person goes to say they want to go get more. So that is a extremely bad reason to rehome. Definitely not personality. It shouldn't be because of that. Like, this person had this animal bonded to her other animals and then rehomed it because of personality differences. Of course, they're going to have different personalities. No animal is going to have the exact same personality. The next thing that makes you a bad pet owner is refusing to change or upgrade when you find out something is wrong in your care. Now, this could be cages, it could be cage accessories, it could be dietary. Just refusing to change your wrongdoings makes you a bad pet owner. Now, I do not want to make people think that if someone in the past has used, say, a critter trail for their hamster, that doesn't make them a bad pet owner. If you have made that mistake and then you learnt from it and you upgraded, you're a good pet owner. Good for you for taking the initiative and actually upgrading. It's to those who are stubborn and refuse to upgrade even though they know it's wrong. I saw this a lot on TikTok and it made my blood boil. All these little bratty 9-year-olds who just refused to upgrade or gave weak excuses for upgrading. If you refuse to fix something that's wrong, you're a bad pet owner. And again, it can be cage size, it could be using accessories that are bad. For example, those who use hamster bowls and refuse to stop using them. You're a bad hamster owner because they are dangerous. Or, for example, feeding your ferret the vitamin paste that I am very much against and is actually very bad. Like, you do your research, it's extremely bad. If you refuse to take your ferret off that paste, that makes you a bad owner because you're refusing to remove something that is bad for the animal and you're not thinking about the animal well-being. So again, for the good example, one I can think of is actually me. A little while ago when I first got Gigi, my first ever rabbit, I did not feed her hay. Being straight up honest, and I am going to do a video owning up to my pet mistakes because I am far from a perfect pet owner. That's going to be my next video. But I didn't feed Gigi hay for the first month of me having her because I was young, uneducated. I didn't do my research before getting her. So that was my wrongdoing. But I have fixed it. I obviously give my rabbits hay now. I buy really big bags of oat hay and now my animals get unlimited hay. So that is a good example of using bad things and then upgrading and improving when learnt that is wrong. I didn't feed hay and now I do, so therefore I'm not a bad pet owner because I've improved on my mistakes, I've admitted my mistakes. A bad example is, again, I'm not going to name any of the bad ones because I'm just not about that life. I'm not about to call someone out. But I know a person who keeps her hamsters in a 20-gallon tank. Now, 20-gallon is half of the minimum. The minimum tank size for a hamster is actually 40 gallons, and this person keeps it in a 20-gallon. And this person knows far too well that it's too small. This person is in the pet community. This person is friends with people in the pet community. She watches a lot. So that is an example of a person refusing to upgrade even though they know it's bad. The next reason that makes you a bad pet owner is refusing medical attention when it's clearly needed. Now, this sometimes can tie into reason number one, which is finance. If you go into an animal knowing that you can't afford vet bills, that makes you a bad owner. And people who ignore the signs of sickness, this happens a lot with things like rats and stuff who suffer from respiratory infections quite a lot. People refuse to acknowledge the signs, so sneezing, wheezing, things like that. They ignore it and they don't go get it checked out, which if you don't treat a respiratory, it can cause lung scarring. I know a girl who rescued a guinea pig and her guinea pig had to be on medication her whole life. So yeah, ignoring medical signs when it's clearly needed. This is also a big thing with dogs and such. So overweight dogs, people tend to ignore that as a medical issue. Overweight animals isn't funny, it isn't cute, it isn't a good thing. Overweight is a health issue and it needs to get solved. And a lot of people ignore it and a lot of people are blinded by it. And you see all these videos on TikToks of morbidly obese animals and people think it's funny and people think it's cute when actually they're ignoring a very big medical problem. Okay, so some good and bad examples. I mean, a good example is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I'm just going to use Faith again because I'm closest to her. I know I'm going to be able to use her situation. Her rat became really sick. If you guys watch her channel, you know about Angelica. She showed signs of being really sick and she took her to the vet and did ignore the signs. A bad example, no, this is a different person. My last two was the same person, but I'm going to use a different example here, and it's actually someone who I know personally and actually lives around where I am. They have two dogs, a husky and a staffy, and the staffy especially is emaciated, which if you don't know the definition of emaciated, I'm going to put it up on screen. Basically, it's severely underweight and malnourished. This staffy is that, and they refuse to get her checked out and give her the medical attention this dog severely needs. The next reason that makes you a bad pet owner, and I'm going to give full credit to Faith because I actually asked her for help on this video and she came up with these two, which thank you to her. Now, this next reason is people who don't give their animals attention and do playtime. That makes you a bad owner. The people who think that they can shove them in a cage and they're fine, and feeding and watering is fine, which is not the case. Animals need love, they need socialization, they need playtime, they need everything that us humans do. Can you imagine being locked in a house with food and water and that's it? That's not a life to live. It's a natural thing. They need to socialize, they need affection, they need everything that we need. So the people who just get an animal, keep it in a cage and call it a day with food and water, that makes you a bad owner because all animals need playtime. A very big rule that is pretty much across all animals is 4 hours a day outside the cage. That goes for rabbits, guinea pigs, ferrets, literally every animal. Your dogs, they need to go on walks depending on the size, but most big dogs need at least an hour a day of outside exercise. And no, that does not mean just taking it to the backyard and thinking that's sufficient enough. Doesn't matter the size. Going out walking or socializing elsewhere that isn't their home, animals need. So for some examples, the good examples are really easy. I can use myself as an example. I could use Faith for example. I could use Tyler Ruggie as an example. All of us do give our animals love. We do give them playtime. We are making sure they get the socialization that they need. Then for a bad example, I can't think of anyone really on top of my head in Pacific, but I know one that could be backyard breeders, people who get rabbits especially actually, who shove them outside in a hutch and that's about it. They give them water and food and that's all they do. They don't give them attention. Or those who get a large dog and lock them up in a backyard or chain them up outside and don't go out there and interact with them and walk them and give them affection. That's bad ownership. So the last reason that could make you a bad pet owner is not observing your animal enough to know the abnormalities or signs of illness. So this kind of goes into play with the other reason of not participating in playtime and interaction with your animal. So if you're just not around your animal enough and you're not observing what their normal behavior is, you're not going to know what's abnormal behavior. And this really characterizes to those who own rabbits and puts them in hutches outside. People don't know the sign of GI stasis and they don't know the abnormal signs of a rabbit. So when their rabbit suddenly dies, they question it all the time when it was their fault because they didn't know the signs. They didn't bother to know their animal's normal and not normal signs. So a lot of animals go to suffer because of people's lack of knowledge. So a good example I'm going to use myself is I have spent the last 3 years with Nala. I know her normal and I know what her personality is like. I know what her daily thing is. So I can really see when she's not herself and when something is majorly wrong. I can spot GI stasis like that. So that is someone being good at observing their animal, and a bad example would be kind of the same as before, people who shove their animals outside, for example their rabbits into hutches. You're not around them every day, all day, to know what their normal behavior is different to what their abnormal behavior is. So that's all for this video. I just wanted to make this video because I know everyone fears of being a bad pet owner. I myself get very insecure about it. But we have to make sure we realize what is actually bad and what isn't bad, because making a mistake doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make you a bad owner. It's what you do with your mistakes. If you know you're making a mistake and you don't change it, for example, you know critter trails are too small and you still continue to use it, you're a bad owner. But if you are using a critter trail, you found out they are bad and you go ahead and upgrade them to a cage that has above 450 square inches, then you're a really good owner and you shouldn't be shamed for something you made in the past because you have now corrected it. And one last thing before I go, I did just want to say is be nice when you're critiquing someone's care. Don't go yelling down their throat. Don't go hating on them, especially if it's online. I know TikTok was a big platform for that. I got hate, Faith got hate, and people are extremely harsh. You don't know someone's background. You don't know that animal's background. Sometimes us as pet owners have to make sacrifices to better the care of our pets. So if someone's rehoming due to illness or financial crisis, that doesn't make them a bad person. They're doing it for the best of the animal. Or if someone is clearly just unknowledge, be kind to them and just let them know, hey, the minimum space for this animal is this. Recommend a cage that is the better thing, and it can be a lot of a better place than everyone yelling at each other and really digging down each other's throat, because mistakes are bound to happen. We're human, everyone makes mistakes, I've made mistakes, and that is going to be my next video, is owning up to my mistakes, because I am far from a perfect pet owner. I've done things that were wrong in the past. So just be nice. There's many ways you can help someone out. And if they don't listen, then you can take it further, and I don't mean bullying or anything, but then you can think further on to how to help this animal. But if someone's made a mistake and if they care about that animal, generally people are going to fix their mistakes and do better, because I feel like most people want the best for their animals. So just be nice and they will be a lot more cooperative than if you were really mean to them.